September 11, 2001 began as a clear, sunny, late summer day. I was due to enter the world at any moment, and my parents were anxiously awaiting my arrival. Unfortunately, that day ended with terror and fear as terrorists coordinated attacks against our great country. My parents watched the news from the delivery room after my birth, and they feared what the world would hold for me in the coming years. Our class was born at the beginning of a war, and our high school career is ending in a worldwide pandemic. These are unusual times. Who would have guessed that we would be here under such unique circumstances, recording this speech in an empty auditorium with my fellow classmates watching from home. Yet here we are, class of 2020. We did it. Our high school journey has officially come to an end. Some of us will be heading off to college to further our educations, and some of us will be going out into the workforce. We will join the military. We will become doctors, lawyers, engineers, teachers, electricians, and mechanics. We will solve world problems. We will make the lives of people on earth better. Yet while this is an auspicious idea, it isn't what truly matters to me. Is it important to strive to make something of your career and your education? Yes, very much so. But ultimately, the career you go into or the amount of schooling that you attain does not define you as a person. My all-time favorite quote is from Mark Twain when he said, "I never let my schooling get in the way of my education." I have had many great people contribute to my life's education, and I am incredibly grateful for each and every one of them. But I would like to point out or highlight one individual who has greatly impacted me. That would be my grandfather. Grandpa was the first person I ever told that I wanted to be here before you giving this speech as your valedictorian today, and I know that he would have loved to be here to watch. My grandfather didn't go to college. He was a brick mason and a Vietnam War veteran, yet in my opinion, he's one of the wisest men who's ever crossed the face of this earth. Grandpa didn't teach me the foundations of physics or why it's important to educate myself in the classics, but he, alongside my father, educated me better than anyone else could have. With every lesson he taught me, he never had to speak a word. I learned by watching the way that he lived his life every single day. Today, I would like to share 5 simple lessons that I learned from him that have made me who I am today. And I'm certain that I would not be here giving this speech before you if it weren't for these lessons he taught me. My grandfather owned a bricklaying company in the hot swamps of Louisiana, and when I was younger, I would usually spend most of my summer with him. One day, as we got ready to go fishing, one of his employees called and notified him that they would not be finishing the brick mailbox they were working on. My grandfather told me we would stop by to finish it really quickly, and then we would go fishing. Grandpa worked hard and fast, so he finished in no time. However, once he stepped back and looked at the completed mailbox, he was not satisfied with the result. He thought it had been finished with mediocre effort. He quickly then began removing all the bricks he had just laid and redid the last half of the mailbox to make sure that it looked its best. There are 2 lessons that lie here within this story. The first lesson is that if your name is on something, make sure you give it your absolute best, no matter how small the task is. Give it everything that you have. My grandfather's company built houses for several mayors in Louisiana, but he would not have been trusted with big jobs as these if he had not put all of his effort into small jobs such as building mailboxes. The second lesson is that when you make a mistake, no matter how small, you go back and you fix it. The third lesson I learned from my grandfather is to always judge people by the content of their character, not by their occupation, race, religion, or amount of education that they may have. My grandfather employed many people who never even went to high school, yet when they were speaking, they always had his undivided attention. He would spend hours talking to people, and he acted as though every person that he came in contact with knew something about life that he didn't. No matter how much education they had, he always knew they had something to teach him. I remember my grandfather was never a big fan of LeBron James. He hated the way that he always complained to referees when he was fouled, and he never hesitated to voice his opinion when watching his games. He preferred the players of the 80s and the 90s like Michael Jordan and the Detroit Pistons bad boys. One day after school, we stopped by the gas station to get a drink like we usually did, and the new LeBron James Sprite had just been released, and I was incredibly anxious to try it. My grandfather jokingly told me that he would never buy anything with LeBron's name on it, but he was willing to buy it for me just this once. As we were driving down the road, I convinced him to try just a taste of my Sprite. As soon as he took a drink, he pulled into a church parking lot, turned the car around, and went back to the gas station to get one for himself. The fourth lesson is this: never let your ignorance keep you from experiencing new things in life because you may be missing out on something great. The final lesson is the most important one, and if I could choose only one of these lessons to model after him, it would be this. My grandfather loved the Lord with all of his heart, soul, strength, and mind. If you ever came into contact with him, you were affected by him. But if you got to know him, you were most definitely changed by him. He was able to affect and change so many people because he first allowed Jesus Christ to affect and change him. Class of 2020, there is so much in store for us. There are many problems in this world that I'm sure we will help solve. And I have no doubt that each and every one of us will flourish in our careers. But if I could ask just one thing of you, it would be this. Before we focus on becoming good doctors and lawyers, engineers, teachers, or whatever career path you may choose, let's focus on being good people. Focus on being a good son or a good daughter to your parents, a good sibling, a good friend, and a good testimony to those around you. Then as we get older, let's focus on being good husbands and good wives, good fathers and good mothers. When we better ourselves as human beings, it will undoubtedly better our careers. Great things are ahead of us, class of 2020. We are strong and resilient. Let's go out and change the world for good. Thank you.